This is an Explain Everything presentation titled, obviously, Changes in Earth. We'll be talking about how the Earth changed through hundreds of millions of years to how it looks now. And we'll also be talking about the tectonic events throughout that, animals throughout these periods of time, the rock cycle, and forming soil. So, without further ado, here we go. So there's not really too much explaining I can do when it comes to these, but I'll try my best. I'll save most of the explaining for the tectonic events, as that's really what it's going to come down to. We'll do a few seconds for each. Obviously, as the title suggests, it says the Earth, Cambrian period. So this is what it looked like a long time ago. One of the earliest recorded periods of history that we've found. So this is what it looked like back then. Obviously, there are some things labeled. If you look on the map, you'll see things like Malaysia, Australia, New Guinea, South America. They're just all over the place on this map. Iran, Siberia is all the way in the middle there. And West Antarctica, near South America, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Kazakhstan as well. So, yeah, this is what it looked like a very, very long time ago. So let's go on to the next one. The Ordovician period here. As you can see, it has changed slightly, not too much. North China, and now China's up there. So still not much to look at, as you can see, when it comes to the map. Most of the land is just together. But they'll slowly start drifting even more together as we continue along here. So let's go to the next period, as I really don't have much to comment about, as I said previously. This is the Silurian period. As you can see, it has actually changed a little bit this time around, as, you know, things have drifted apart over on the eastern side of the globe here. According to this globe, it's the eastern side. On the western side, a few things have drifted apart. We have a few big islands there, and there's still this chunk in the middle that really looks out of place, but that'll end up changing, as I said, as we go along here. So let's go on to the next period. Now we're on to the Devonian period, and as you can see on the western side, much of that has kind of just drifted east, and the parts in the middle have slowly been brought back together again, despite the last period's kind of struggle with a lot of drifting away areas. It looked like, you know, they were going to spread out, but now they've just moved to another side. So yeah, no big deal. I don't know why that would be a big deal, but anyways, on the eastern side, you know, they've drifted out a little bit. It looks like a Japan over there on the eastern side, on the outwardmost island there, but I don't think it'll turn to Japan for quite a while. So let's move on to the next period here. So yeah, this is a big one. As you can see, I have 3 pictures to show you this time, because it's the Earth in the Carboniferous, Pennsylvanian, and Mississippian periods. And I did this because it was labeled the Carboniferous period when I looked at this, but I realized that I should probably look at these a little bit closer. So first, let's look at the late Carboniferous period here, down at the bottom. And as you can see, it's actually starting to turn into Pangea. Yeah, and that's really interesting. It won't be too long now before that is Pangea. So we'll just have to see where this goes. And if we look to the right here, it's now the Mississippian period. If we look at that, it is a little bit different, as you can see. And if we look at this Mississippian, there's still a big island in the middle there, but the other little islands have started drifting towards the east, as it shows down in the Carboniferous period. And you have kind of an Antarctica look at the bottom there. And if we look at the Pennsylvanian one, or at least the late Pennsylvanian period, they've all kind of drifted together, except for that Japan-like island. That's pretty much the only one that's not connected, at least by a little bit of land, besides a few other raggedy islands around. And it's really starting to turn into Pangea in the Pennsylvanian period. So let's move on to the next period. Here we go. So here we have the late Permian period at 255 million years ago. And we have Pangea pretty much now. We really only have a few oceans as well. It's a big area. Most of it's connected. All the continents are. You have Antarctica, Australia, India is labeled there, South Africa is labeled there, Africa, South America. You can see where South America and Africa split off, or at least most of Africa. And North America, I think, is labeled somewhere. I just can't see it. And you have Siberia and North China up there as well. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, Alaska's labeled as well. So that's kind of cool that they, in some of these, that they are labeled, because that really helps with figuring out the map and everything. Kudos to them, I guess, for figuring that out, I have to say. Let's move on to the next period. Dinosaurs have arrived. Yes, the Triassic period. We are in the Pangea world here. Everything is pretty much connected now. You have North America, Europe, and Asia. Eurasia, as it says. South America, Africa, Antarctica, and Australia. All connected. Well, except for that little island. But anyway, all connected. This is Pangea. This is the Triassic period. This is when the dinosaurs came into existence. Those large reptiles that everyone knows about on the Earth. Let's move on to the next period. And now we have the Jurassic period. Pangea has split apart, and we're starting to get some little inklings here that of the continents. You can see South America and what looks to be Africa, pretty much. And then you can see North America up there, along with Canada. Well, Canada's in North America, I was just, yeah. And Greenland as well. Also followed by Europe and Asia over there. They're still forming as well, and Antarctica is drifting south as well. So let's move on to the next period. The Cretaceous period. Now this is when the continents started to form up. You can see Antarctica there at the bottom. It's been enlarged, of course, but it's still there. South America is pretty much there. Africa is pretty much there. Europe and Asia are still forming, but, you know, we're getting there. We are getting there. We're getting to the modern world. Let's move on to the next period. 14 million years ago was the Tertiary period. It's pretty much how it is now. I mean, if you look at it, everything's formed. Not that much of a difference. So yeah. Pretty interesting. The world has been formed. We even have Indonesia formed. So that's cool. Let's move on to the next period. We have the modern world here. This is the modern world. This is today's world. How it looks now. It's in the last few thousand years or so. Everything's been labeled. And as you can see, this is the modern world that we know today. Yeah. Pretty interesting. But let's move on. As you know, you've probably seen this every day. Notable creatures. That's what we'll be talking about today. Through areas of time. There will be 3 areas of time we're covering. Paleozoic, Mesozoic, and Cenozoic. On the left here we have a Paleozoic creature. You'll find about that very soon. And obviously on the right we have a woolly mammoth. So, yeah, let's get right to it, as these are pretty interesting in my opinion. So let's go to these now. Paleozoic creatures. We're going to be talking about 2 for every era. This is the first era. Let's get right to it now. So on the left here, we have a branch of an animal called the synapsid. This version, or this branch of the synapsid, was a fish-eater, semi-aquatic amphibian, and its adaptations were allow it to swim through at least shallow water, as it is a fish-eater, that's what it eats, and it can also travel on land with its legs. Those adaptations. Its habitat is a swampy climate area as well, and the synapsid, its main food group to eat, as I said now for the 3rd time now, is a fish. That was really its only diet, its only primary diet. So yeah. On the right here we have a creature known as the Dinocephalian therapsid. The creature is standing in the background. It's standing in front of a lake. This would be in the area of Perm, in Russia. That area is in the Ural Mountains. It was the largest creature known at the time. Despite its large size and its carnivorous look, it was a herbivore. And it also may not look like it, but this was an early descendant of mammals, like you and me. It stands behind what it eats, as these were the early plants as well during the Paleozoic era. Now, obviously these 2 animals would become 2 different periods of time, not eras, but periods. Eras cover about, a few 100 million years, give or take. So these 2 creatures lived at different times, but they both lived up to what they should be doing, I guess you could say, with their size and everything like that. So here is the actual name for this mammal. I cannot pronounce this name very well, and I'm not going to try and fail at it. So good luck with that. Here's just the extra picture, and we'll move on to the next slide of the synapsid. Don't really have anything to add here, but this is one of the synapsid classes. This was the semi-aquatic version, as I mentioned earlier. Not much else to comment here, so let's move on. So now we have the Mesozoic era creatures, and these are much more interesting. So let's get right to it. These creatures are vastly different, and as you can see on screen, I think they're very interesting. So I will try and pronounce this name. It's Dinosuchus. Yes, Dinosuchus. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. Its nickname, obviously given hundreds of millions of years after it lived, was the Terrible Crocodile. Obviously, being a crocodile, its habitat should reflect something that is close to what crocodiles would live in today. And its main adaptation was being extremely huge and having jaws that were capable of killing any dinosaur that would cross its path, even the largest, as you can see here, as it completely is about to swallow up this dinosaur here, which I cannot identify. And its massive jaws and some of the most razor-sharp teeth ever. Honestly, ever. Pachycormids were some of the most gigantic fish that ever lived. In fact, I found that they were so big that I needed to include 2 extra pictures. So, on the left we have a picture of one pachycormid. That's just an example. The other one is a scale representation of a diver versus one of the largest pachycormids. And then on the bottom here, just to show you, even bigger, just so you can grasp the sheer size of this beast. We have its the front of this fish, and a diver next to it. He would get easily swallowed up. These animals' adaptations really were just probably its size. I mean, it's so gigantic that anything it ate, really, it is just unstoppable. It large. When you're that large, it's really hard. Imagine if that lived today. Oh, man. Thankfully, its diet mainly consists of zooplankton, so I guess you're safe from that. It could easily extract zooplankton with its gill rakers and gill basket that just really sucked in as much as it could hold, really, overall. So there you have it, the pachycormids. Gigantic. Just gigantic. So now we're moving on to the Cenozoic era creatures. On my right is a woolly mammoth. And on my left is, of course, the humble elephant. So let's talk about the elephant first. The first adaptation is their long tusks. These are used for ripping off bark, digging into the dirt, or fighting off any other animals or elephants that may threaten them. There are 2 main species of elephants, African and Indian, 4 subspecies for the Indian elephant, and 2 for the African. The next is the trunk, which has over 40,000 muscles in it. This is used to slurp up gallons upon gallons of water. They're also used to fight off other animals and pull branches from trees, or just the trees themselves if they're small enough. And on a lighter note, they're also used to comfort the little elephants that get scared. Next, we'll talk about the woolly mammoth. Many of these adaptations will be the same, as they are descendants of the elephant. Or not descendants, ancestors, my mistake. I'll correct myself there. Like elephants, they had a trunk to grasp food and other predators and anything that might stand in their way. One I did not mention for the elephant, but is certainly true, is their size. So other predators would stay away and get intimidated by this large, animalistic beast that it is. Their climate was very, very cold, so having thick fur was a welcome adaptation, for sure. And having small ears also prevented from a lot of heat loss as well, which definitely was a good factor for them. The only enemy for a woolly mammoth was a saber-toothed tiger, which was going to be included in this presentation, but I decided against it and just went with the elephant instead. But I might as well put in the saber-toothed tiger. It's the only real enemy of the woolly mammoth and was a definite predator in the tundra climate that the woolly and the tiger lived. Saber-toothed tiger, that is. And it hunted prey with its long fangs and agile speed. So let's get on with this. That wraps up the Cenozoic creatures. I decided to include the saber-toothed tiger as it was pretty important. Let's get on with the next section now. So the next thing we'll be talking about is tectonic plate boundaries. Let's get to it. The first tectonic plate boundary we'll be talking about is divergent tectonic plate boundaries. The diverging plate boundary is a pulling apart plate boundary. When these start to pull apart, new oceans are formed. This also creates new crust and a little bit more plate boundary as well. This can only happen when 2 or more plates pull away from each other. A good example of this is Iceland. When 2 tectonic plate boundaries kind of pulled apart there, ocean water just seeped through and kind of